The smell of smoke woke me up at 3 in the morning. If you're enjoying this story, please like, share, and subscribe for more heartfelt tales. I jumped out of bed, so fast my knees hurt. Black clouds were coming from my kitchen. I could hear a terrible crackling sound, like someone stepping on dry leaves, but louder and ENGRIER. My name is Grace. I'm 65 years old, and I've lived in my small house in Charlotte for 40 years. My husband Robert died 3 years ago, and since then, it's been just me and my memories. But that night, everything changed. I ran toward the kitchen, but the heat pushed me back like an invisible wall. Flames were climbing up my curtains, eating them like a hungry monster. Orange and red fingers reached across my ceiling. The fire alarm should have gone off, but the battery was dead. I'd been meaning to change it for weeks. No, no, no. I screamed, but my voice felt tiny and useless. I grabbed my purse from the table near the door. My hands were shaking so badly, I almost dropped it. Then I saw Robert's portrait on the wall, the one we took on our 20th anniversary. His kind eyes looked at me through the glass. I couldn't leave him behind. I pulled the picture off the wall, hugged it to my chest, and ran outside in my nightgown and slippers. The cold air hit my face, and I realized I was crying. My neighbors, Mr. and Mrs. Chun, were already outside. Mrs. Chun wrapped a blanket around my shoulders while Mr. Chun called 911. We stood there watching my home, my whole life, disappear into flames and smoke. The firefighters came, but it was too late. By sunrise, my house was just black wood and ashes. 40 years of memories turned into nothing. My wedding dress, Robert's favorite chair, the quilt my mother made me, the photo albums from when David was a baby, all gone. I had nowhere to go. The Red Cross gave me a card for emergency shelter, but I knew I couldn't stay there. I needed my family. I needed my son. David lived 30 minutes away in a fancy neighborhood called Meadowbrook Heights. He'd moved there 2 years ago with his girlfriend, Victoria. I'd only visited twice because Victoria always seemed uncomfortable when I came around. But this was different. This was an emergency. I borrowed Mrs. Chen's phone and called David.
Mom?
It's 6 in the morning. What's wrong? His voice sounded sleepy and confused. David, there was a fire. The house is gone. Everything is gone. My voice broke. I need help, sweetheart. Can I stay with you for a little while? There was a long silence. Too long. Oh my God, Mom. Are you okay? Are you hurt? I'm fine, but I have nowhere to go. Please, David. Just until I figure things out. Another pause. Let me talk to Victoria. I'll call you back. He hung up before I could say anything else. My heart felt heavy, like someone had tied a stone to it and dropped it in deep water. Mrs. Chin drove me to David's house 3 hours later. I was still wearing my nightgown under Mrs. Chen's old coat. I felt embarrassed and small. David's house was beautiful, white with tall columns and a perfect green lawn. A silver car sat in the driveway, like something from a magazine. David opened the door before I could knock. He looked nervous, glancing back into the house. Mom, I'm so sorry about the fire, he said, but he didn't hug me. He didn't invite me inside. Can I come in? I asked quietly. He shifted from foot to foot. Victoria wants to talk to you first. My stomach dropped. Victoria appeared behind him, wearing expensive clothes and perfect makeup even though it was early morning. She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. Grace, we're so sorry about your situation, she said, like I was a stranger asking for directions. But David and I have been talking, and we think it's important to maintain healthy boundaries in our relationship. Boundaries? I just lost my home. I'm not asking to move in forever, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. Just a few days while I contact insurance and find a place. Victoria crossed her arms. We value our privacy, Grace. This is a difficult time for us too. David just started his new job, and we're planning our wedding. We can't take on extra stress right now. Extra stress. That's what I was to them. There's an extended stay hotel on Morrison Street, Victoria continued, pulling out her phone. It's very affordable. We'd be happy to help with the first week's payment. I looked at David. My son. The boy I raised alone after Robert died. The child I worked double shifts for so he could go to college. David. My voice came out as a whisper. He looked at the ground. Mom, maybe it's for the best. Just temporarily. We don't have a guest room set up, and you have a 4-bedroom house. The words exploded out of me. Victoria stepped forward. Grace, we're not going to be guilt-tripped into. I'm not trying to guilt anyone. Tears were streaming down my face now. I'm your mother, David. I lost everything. Can't you see that? David's face turned red. I know, Mom, but you have to understand our position. We're not equipped to. Forget it. I turned away, my whole body shaking. Just forget I asked. Mom, wait. Mrs. Chun is waiting. I walked back to the car, my slippers making soft sounds on the concrete. I didn't look back. As we drove away, I saw Victoria close the door through the car's side mirror. David stood on the porch for a moment, his hand raised like he might wave, but then he went inside too. The door clicked shut, and something inside me broke. That night, lying on a thin mattress in the Morrison Street extended stay, I stared at the ceiling and wondered how I'd become so invisible to my own son. The only thing I had left was Robert's portrait, my purse, and a broken heart. But inside that purse was something I'd forgotten about for 40 years. Something that would change everything. The hotel room smelled like old carpet and cleaning chemicals. The walls were thin. I could hear someone's television through the wall and a baby crying somewhere down the hall. I sat on the edge of the bed, still wearing Mrs. Chen's coat because the room felt cold and empty. Robert's portrait leaned against the lamp on the nightstand. His smile looked sad in the yellow light. What do I do now, Robert? I whispered to the picture. He didn't answer. He never would again. I dumped my purse onto the bed, looking for anything useful. My wallet had $43. My phone had a cracked screen from when I dropped it running from the fire. A pack of tissues. My reading glasses. Some old receipts. And then I saw it. A business card, so old the edges were yellow and soft like fabric. The ink had faded to a light brown color, but I could still read the words. Randall Galloway. Galloway Construction and Development. A phone number. An address that probably didn't exist anymore. My hands started shaking. Randall. I hadn't thought about him in years. No, that wasn't true. I'd thought about him plenty, but I'd pushed those thoughts away like you push away dreams when you wake up. Randall Galloway was my first love. We met when I was 23, and he was 25. He was working construction back then, building houses with his uncle's company. I was a waitress at Molly's Diner on 5th Street. He came in every morning for coffee and eggs. Always left a big tip. Always made me laugh. We dated for 2 wonderful years. He talked about marriage, about building me a house with his own hands, about filling it with kids and laughter and love. But then his uncle died, and Randall had to choose. The construction company was struggling. It needed someone to run it, to save it, to make it grow. But that meant moving 4 hours away to Raleigh. It meant working 16-hour days. It meant no time for anything else. Come with me, he'd said, holding both my hands in his. We'll make it work, Grace. I promise. But I was scared. My mother was sick, and I couldn't leave her. I had a job, friends, a life in Charlotte. Moving felt like jumping off a cliff without knowing if there was water below. I can't, I told him, crying. Not right now. Then I'll come back for you, Randall promised. Give me 2 years to get the business stable. Then I'll come back, and we'll get married. I swear. He kissed me goodbye and pressed his business card into my hand. Keep this. When you're ready, call me. Even if it's years from now. I'll be waiting. But he never came back. And I never called. 6 months later, I met Robert at a church picnic. He was kind and steady and safe. He didn't talk about big dreams or building empires. He worked at the post office and wanted a simple life. We got married a year later. Had David 2 years after that. Built a good life together. Not exciting, but comfortable and warm. I put Randall's card in my purse and forgot about it. Or tried to. Sometimes I wondered what happened to him.
If he ever thought about me.
If he built that empire he dreamed about.
If he found someone else to share it with.
Now, sitting in this sad hotel room with nothing but $43 and a broken heart, I looked at that old card and felt something I hadn't felt in a long time. Hope. It was probably stupid. The number probably didn't work anymore. He probably didn't even remember me. 40 years was a lifetime ago. But what did I have to lose? My hands were shaking so badly, I could barely dial the number. I had to try 3 times before I got it right. The phone rang once.
Twice.
3 times. Maybe this was a mistake. Maybe I should just hang up and… Galloway Development, this is Randall speaking. His voice. Older, deeper, but definitely his voice. My throat closed up. I couldn't speak. Hello? Anyone there? Randall? My voice came out tiny and scared. It's Grace. Grace Thorne. Well, it used to be Grace Miller, but then I got married and… I don't know if you remember me, but we dated a long time ago and… Grace. He interrupted, and I heard something in his voice that made my heart jump. Grace Miller from Charlotte? From Molly's Diner? Yes, I whispered. That's me. Oh my God, Grace. Of course I remember you. How could I forget? Are you okay? You sound upset. And just like that, 40 years disappeared. I told him everything. About Robert dying 3 years ago. About the fire. About going to David's house and being turned away. About this horrible hotel room where I was sitting alone with nothing. He listened to everything. He didn't interrupt. He didn't judge. When I finished, there was silence for a moment. What's the address of that hotel? He asked quietly. What? The hotel, Grace. What's the address? I told him, confused. I'm coming to get you, he said, and I could hear rustling sounds like he was already moving. I'm in Raleigh, so it'll take me about 3.5 hours. Can you wait for me? Randall, you don't have to. Yes, I do. His voice was firm. You called me, Grace. After 40 years, you finally called me. I'm not letting you sit in some terrible hotel alone. Pack whatever you have. I'll be there before sunset. But I don't want to be a burden. Grace. He said my name like it was something precious. You could never be a burden. Not to me. Not ever. Tears were pouring down my face. Okay, I whispered. Okay, he said softly. I'll see you soon. And Grace. Yes. I'm really glad you kept my card. He hung up. I sat there holding the phone, hardly believing what just happened. Randall was coming. After 40 years, he was coming for me. I looked at Robert's portrait. Is this crazy? I asked him. Am I being foolish? Robert's smile seemed to say, Be happy, Grace. You deserve it. I stood up and looked at myself in the bathroom mirror. My hair was messy. My face was red from crying. I was still wearing a nightgown under Mrs. Chen's coat. I looked like a disaster. But for the first time since the fire, I felt something other than sadness. I felt like maybe, just maybe, everything was going to be okay. I used the hotel soap to wash my face. I tried to fix my hair with my fingers. It didn't help much, but it was something. Then I sat by the window and waited. The sun moved across the sky slowly. So slowly, I thought time had stopped. Every car that drove past made my heart jump. Every sound in the hallway made me turn toward the door. 3 hours felt like 3 years. Finally, just as the sun was starting to turn the sky orange and pink, a sleek black car pulled into the parking lot. It was beautiful, the kind of car important people drove. The driver's door opened, and Randall stepped out. He was older, of course. His dark hair was now silver at the temples. He wore an expensive suit that fit him perfectly. He looked successful and confident and handsome. But when our eyes met through the window, he smiled. And it was the same smile from 40 years ago. The smile that made me feel like the most important person in the world. I grabbed my purse and Robert's portrait and ran outside before I could change my mind. Randall walked toward me, and when he got close, he stopped. He looked at me for a long moment, really looked at me, seeing past the messy hair and the borrowed coat and the nightgown underneath. Then he said 3 words that changed everything. "You look beautiful." And I started crying all over again. But this time, they were different tears. These were tears of relief, of being seen, of being valued, of being home. Randall's car smelled like leather and pine. Classical music played softly from the speakers. I sat in the passenger seat holding Robert's portrait on my lap, still not quite believing this was real. "Are you comfortable?" Randall asked, adjusting the temperature. "Too cold? Too warm?" "It's perfect," I said quietly. Everything felt like a dream. We drove in silence for a while. Not an awkward silence, but the comfortable kind, like two old friends who didn't need to fill every moment with words. Finally, Randall spoke. "I want you to know something, Grace. When I said I'd wait for you, I meant it. I never stopped hoping you'd call." My throat felt tight. "You waited 40 years?" "Well," he smiled, keeping his eyes on the road, "I didn't sit by the phone the whole time. I built the business. I traveled. I even got married for a few years, but it didn't work out." She said, "I was married to my work." He glanced at me. "But the truth was, I never forgot about you." "I got married too," I said softly. "To Robert. He was a good man. We had a good life together." "I'm glad," Randall said, and he sounded like he meant it. "You deserve to be happy, Grace. You deserved everything." "But I wasn't unhappy with Robert," I said quickly, feeling guilty. "I loved him. We built a real life together." "I know." Randall's voice was gentle. "And I'm not asking you to erase that. I'm just saying, maybe now we get a second chance at something we never finished." A second chance. The words made my heart beat faster. We drove for another hour, and I watched the city fade into suburbs, then into beautiful countryside. Finally, Randall turned onto a private road lined with tall trees. "Where are we going?" I asked. "Home," he said simply. The road opened up, and I gasped. In front of us stood the most beautiful house I'd ever seen. It wasn't a mansion, but it was big and elegant, made of warm brick and stone with huge windows that caught the sunset. Gardens surrounded it, full of flowers and green grass. A fountain bubbled near the entrance. "You live here?" I whispered. "I built it," Randall said with quiet pride. 10 years ago. I designed every room myself." He looked at me. "I always imagined showing it to you someday." He parked the car and came around to open my door. His hand reached out to help me, and when I took it, I felt safe for the first time in days. Inside, the house was even more beautiful. Warm wood floors, comfortable furniture, family photos on the walls. It felt like a home, not just a house. "The guest room is upstairs," Randall said. "First door on the right. There's a bathroom attached, fresh towels in the closet. Take your time settling in. I'll make us some dinner." "Randall, I can't just." "Yes, you can." He put his hands on my shoulders gently. "Grace, you're not a burden. You're not an inconvenience. You're a person who needs help, and I'm honored to give it." "Okay." I nodded, too emotional to speak. The guest room was gorgeous. A big bed with soft blankets. A window overlooking the gardens. Clean clothes laid out on the bed. Women's clothes in my size. I stared at them in confusion. At dinner I asked about it. "Those clothes in the guest room." Randall looked a bit embarrassed. "I called my assistant on the way to get you. Asked her to run to the store and grab some basics. I hope they fit. If not, we'll get you whatever you need tomorrow." "You did that for me?" "Of course I did." He said it like it was the most obvious thing in the world. If this story is touching your heart, please like, share, and subscribe. Your support helps us share more inspiring stories like Grace's. Over the next few weeks, something amazing happened. I healed. Not just from the fire, but from years of feeling invisible. Years of making myself smaller so others could be bigger. Years of forgetting who I was before I became someone's wife, someone's mother. Randall and I talked for hours every day. About the past, about our dreams, about everything we'd missed in 40 years. He showed me his business, the buildings he designed, the communities he'd helped create. "I'm proud of what I built," he told me one evening as we sat in his garden watching fireflies. But something was always missing. I built all these homes for other people, but mine always felt empty. Until now, I asked quietly. Until now, he agreed, taking my hand. 1 month after the fire, Randall asked me a question. Grace, I know this might seem fast. I know we're not the same young people we were 40 years ago, but I've waited long enough. He got down on one knee, slower than he probably would have when he was 25, but just as sincere. Will you marry me? I looked at this man who dropped everything to rescue me, who treated me like I was valuable, who saw me, really saw me, when my own son had turned me away. Yes, I said, tears streaming down my face. Yes. We got married 6 weeks later in Randall's backyard. It was small and simple, just a few close friends, a minister, and flowers from the garden. I wore a cream-colored dress that Randall bought me, and I carried wildflowers. 2 days before the wedding, I did something hard. I called David. Mom, where have you been? I've been trying to reach you. My phone broke in the fire, remember? I got a new number. Where are you staying? Victoria, and I have been worried. Have you? I didn't mean for it to sound bitter, but it did. There was silence on the other end. David, I called because I wanted you to know something. I'm getting married.
What?
Mom, you can't be serious. You just lost Dad 3 years ago, and now you're… Who is this person? Are they taking advantage of you? His name is Randall Galloway. I knew him a long time ago, before I met your father. He's a good man, David. Better than I deserve. Mom, this is crazy. You can't just marry some stranger. He's not a stranger. My voice was calm and strong. He's the man who helped me when I had nowhere else to go. When my own son closed the door in my face. Another silence. This one hurt. Mom, Victoria thought. I don't care what Victoria thought, David. I needed you, not Victoria.
You.
And you chose her comfort over my survival. I heard him take a shaky breath. You're right.
I was wrong, Mom.
I was so wrong. Can you forgive me?
Could I? I didn't know yet.
But I knew one thing. I'm inviting you to the wedding, I said. Saturday at 2 o'clock. I'll text you the address.
Come if you want to.
Don't come if you don't. But either way, I'm moving forward with my life. Saturday arrived warm and sunny. I stood in front of the mirror in my cream dress, hardly recognizing myself. I looked happy. I looked alive. There was a knock on the door. Come in, I called. David stepped into the room. He looked nervous and sad and young, like the little boy who used to hold my hand crossing the street. Mom, he whispered. You look beautiful. Thank you for coming, I said carefully. I'm sorry. His voice broke. I'm so sorry. Victoria and we were wrong.
We were selfish.
You needed us and we failed you. I looked at my son, really looked at him. He'd made a terrible mistake. He'd hurt me deeply. But he was here now.
He was trying.
Come here, I said softly. He crossed the room and I hugged him. He cried on my shoulder like he used to when he was little. I love you, David, I said. I'm still angry. I'm still hurt. But I love you. I love you too, Mom. And I want to do better. I want to be better. Then start today, I told him. Walk me down the aisle. His eyes went wide. Really? Really? The ceremony was perfect. David walked me through the garden toward Randall, who waited under an arch covered in roses. When David placed my hand in Randall's, he whispered, Take care of her. She deserves the world. I know, Randall whispered back. I plan to give it to her. We said our vows with the sun shining down and birds singing in the trees. When Randall kissed me, I felt 40 years of waiting melt away. This was where I was supposed to be. This was home. 3 months later, I stood in Randall's office, our office now, looking at the wall. Randall had framed his old business card, the yellowed one I'd kept for 40 years. Next to it hung Robert's portrait. Are you sure about this? I'd asked when he suggested it. Robert and your card together? Robert was part of your story, Randall said gently. He made you who you are. I'm not trying to erase him. I'm just grateful he took care of you when I couldn't. Now I stood looking at both, the past and the present, side by side. The house fire took almost everything from me. But from those ashes, something new grew. Something beautiful. I learned that home isn't a building. It's not four walls and a roof. Home is being with someone who sees you, who values you, who chooses you again and again. I learned that it's never too late for a second chance. And I learned that the promises we make matter, even if they take 40 years to keep. David visits every Sunday now. He and Victoria are working on being better, kinder, more open. It's not perfect, but it's progress. And me? I'm happier than I've been in decades. Every morning, I wake up in Randall's arms. Every evening, we sit in the garden and watch the sunset. Every day, he tells me I'm beautiful. And every day, I believe him a little more. My old house burned down. I lost 40 years of memories. My son turned me away when I needed him most. But I found something I'd lost long ago. I found myself. And I found my way home. Did Grace's story touch your heart? Please hit that like button, share the story with someone who needs hope today, and subscribe for more inspiring tales of second chances and unconditional love. Your support means the world. Drop a comment below telling us, have you ever had a second chance at something you thought was lost forever?